look!
I've never seen Decepticons as vicious as those monstrous Terrorcons.
Lucky we have the Technobots.
Yeah, but those high-tech heroes are in for one horrific battle.
The Transformers, much more than meets the eye.
Out of monstrous Terracon beasts comes the incredible Abominus to battle the fearless and futuristic Computron.
The Transformers,
The Transformers, sold separately from Hasbro.
Greetings, YouTube. So today, as you guys probably know, if you've been watching my stuff lately, I've been discovering, checking out, trying these oversized KOs of regular Hasbro Transformers. And I've done Siege Ultra Magnus, I've done Siege Hound, and now we are about to look at the freaking Terrorcons, the whole squad. So this is the deformation line again, and we're going to go through it and we're going to check them out. We're going to look at them, and in this case, this is a really good because I actually have the Power of the Primes Terrorcons to compare them to. So we'll be able to get a very good look at what we're looking at with this oversized KO line. So let's check them out. All right, so real quick here, I'm just going to take a quick look at each one, just a few seconds on each one. So here you have Ripper Snapper in his bot mode. Looking very nice. Cutthroat. Also looking very nice. Terrorcons were always one of my favorite combining teams. Blot. And again, these are directly design-wise taken from the Power of the Primes Terrorcons. Center Twin. And then you have the leader slash main part of the combiner here, Hunger. So just so you know, if you haven't watched the other ones or maybe you're wondering, so these deformation line KOs, they actually add metal, and I'm assuming this is die-cast metal, but they add metal to these designs. So each one of these figures has certain parts on it that is made out of metal. They're sturdier, they're more hefty. When you pick it up, you actually feel the weight. And I mean, other than that, the design is pretty much, the same. It's just upscaled. So you got this whole team here, upsized and made with better quality parts, but looking, because the originals looked great, but now they're bigger. So let's look at that comparison with the Hasbro Power of the Primes versions. All right, so here we have our Power of the Primes versions of the Terrorcons. You have them in the front here, these smaller guys, and it looks like they're standing here with their dad or something, that they're that much bigger. So I'm going to take a random comparison here. Let's take a look at Center Twin and his counterpart, and you're looking at probably a 1.5, maybe, about 1.5 to 1 3/4 size difference as far as height for these what would be deluxe size, because this is the old school deluxe size, and honestly that's, I don't know, the new deluxe size might even be smaller than these dudes, but about 1.5 inch height difference there. And then you're looking at the main combiner part, that's about a 2-inch difference between the Power of the Primes Hunger and the knockoff Hunger. So substantial increase in size, and as you can probably surmise, when these guys are put together in their combine mode, you're going to also have an uptick in size, which is always good. And the combiner's supposed to be huge, right? So they look great. They look literally almost exactly like their Hasbro counterparts, and they're bigger with metal parts. So what's not to like? All right, so here they are in bot mode. I'm going to switch them to beast mode so we can have a look at the comparisons there. All right, so here we have the Terrorcons transformed into their beast mode. So real quick, I'm gonna go over each one of them and compare them to the Power of the Primes version. We'll start with Ripper Snapper here. So this is your Power of the Primes version. Again, if you're not really familiar with the Terrorcons, they basically transform into these misshapen kind of hybrid monster beast things. Like this dude's like a cross between a shark and like a freaking Wolverine or something, like some fantastic, not really realistic animal, or maybe, you know, alien. So there's Ripper Snapper. And as far as Ripper Snapper goes, he has die cast in his feet. So these are all metal. This whole thing here is metal. Then we look at Cutthroat. Here's your Power of the Primes version. Again, a very not realistic monster bird thing. And then here is the oversized version. He also has metal at his feet. Like his whole lower leg is metal. Next on the list, we have Blot. Power of the Primes version. Again, a stubby little kind of honey badger looking monster. There's really no other way to describe these things. Like, they're just complete ridiculous looking monsters. And that's what makes them cool. Here's the knockoff version. And Blot, I believe, has metal feet, and he might have some more metal up in his chest. Here's Blot. Next we have Sinner Twin, the two-headed lizard dog. That leg's supposed to be down. There we go. Two-headed and two-tailed. And the mouths do open, which is very nice. And then here's the knockoff version. A lot bigger. He has metal at the back feet, back legs. Really impressed with this set. Just taking a very, because look, Hasbro's designs were great. There's nothing really wrong with Hasbro's designs in the Terrorcons. They're just too small for my taste. Here we have another hideous monster, a two-headed dragon slash, alligator thing. And this is Hunger. There's your Power of the Primes version. And here is the knockoff version. Quite a bit bigger. Yeah, and they got kibble. They got, bunch of stuff hanging off of them. Legs look weird. This is just classic G1 monster bots, though. Like, they weren't going for realism. They were going for ridiculous, which is cool. All right. Now I'm going to move into a size comparison with these guys. I want to compare how they look with other regular release or third party or masterpiece or whatever the case. I'm going to go through a whole bunch of different size comparisons, and I'm just going to show them on the screen. All right, so now for the comparison that probably everybody was hoping I would do, and probably even why you tuned in. How do they look in combined mode? So personally, I'm not a huge combiner person. Like when I get the individual bots for different combiners, I like the individual bots, the teams. The combiner is just kind of a bonus, whereas other people want the combiner and the individual bots is kind of a bonus that they don't even really take advantage of because they put them in combine mode and then they never take them apart. But I like the individual characters. But it is important to look at these guys in combine mode so you can see scale. So on the right here is the Power of the Primes combine mode, and it's actually pretty good. Like, it's not as squatty and not as kind of like compact, stumpy as some of the other Combiner Wars, Titans Return combiners were. Throw a couple of people up here for scale so you can have a look. Here is Voyager Blitzwing from the old school Voyager size. Here's new school Voyager Cyclonus. And that Power to Primes one is still pretty big compared to a Voyager. Let's look at a Masterpiece. Masterpiece Smokescreen. Decent size. Once you start getting into the bigger bots, these third-party offerings like Optus Pexes here and Orion Pax, that actually still looks okay with the Power of the Primes one, but this knockoff one is much better scale-wise. Let's have a look at another bigger bot. This is Scattershot, Cybertron. So he's like probably almost 3/4 as big as the Power of the Primes combiner. He also makes a combiner himself, so that's why he's so big. Oversized version of Ultra Magnus. So you can get a good idea of the scale here. The Power of the Primes combiner is a decent size. It is much better proportion than a lot of those other Combiner Wars, Titans Return type combiners, but this knockoff one is very good size. I mean, that's a very good size. Let me throw in just a couple more just so you can see if you're trying to get this to go with just your War for Cybertron trilogy sized figures. Here's Grapple. That looks pretty good. Then let's add Hoist. And then we'll throw in Hot Rod Studio Series and Siege Hound. Stand up. So you can see there in this picture, if you're gonna go just straight up, War for Cybertron, but you just want a big combiner, that's probably the way to go. Like compared to a Voyager and the new deluxe size bot, he's huge. I mean, they look okay with this one, but with that one, that's menacing looking. I'll pull out one more just for the sake of pulling it out. Okay, actually I lied. Two more. So, Siege Jetfire. Really, really big bot. Like, really big. This guy is just massive to just be not a combiner. He's as tall as the Power of the Primes combiner. Still shorter than the knockoff. And then here we have, let's move this guy over. here we have a Combiner Wars sized. This is third-party Monstructor. The Pretenders. And this is, it's very cool, and it was hella expensive, just FYI. It looks great, but it's kind of stumpy. This is how the Power of the Primes, Combiner Wars, Titans Return type combiners were. They looked cool, they were nice and big, but they were kind of compact. Whereas this one, much better proportioned. And then if you upscale it, you're looking at this. So there's that. But again, you can fit these guys, this knockoff version, into probably any of your displays or any of your worlds, because he's big enough for your third-party figures to still look, you know, small compared to him. And he's definitely big enough for your regular sized War for Cybertron type trilogy type figures. All right, so one more thing I just want to point out, because it did happen, so it should be brought up. This hand, I don't know if it was this hand in particular or what, but it is not the right size. Like, it won't fit into the little slot for, like, it literally just won't even stay in. So that's disappointing, but I mean, little sticky tap around the side, you could get it to fit in there just fine and you'd be okay. It's a very easy, cheap fix, but it is something I should point out. So that did not fit in where it was supposed to, but the feet and the other hand fit fine. As far as weapons go, I know that Hunger came with this sword, and I'm assuming that this is for combine mode, but I don't remember getting this with the Hasbro version. And real quick, there's a cool thing about this sword. It actually opens up, transforms into a kind of makeshift bird, which is actually really cool. And I do not remember getting this with the Power of the Primes version, so this must have been something that they just put together for their knockoff. But it's nice. But I'm assuming this is supposed to be Abominus' weapon. I assume. But it still seems kind of small for him. It's more like a dagger. I don't know. Alright, so links in the description. This is actually, when I did this video, it was sold out, but I'm assuming it'll show back up again. They usually pump these knockouts out all the time. So if you keep looking, you'll probably find one if you really want it. And the best part is that this was only $80. $80 for all of them. So like, comment, subscribe. Later.